that we spray painted them without masks.
Just getting that tasty spray paint lungs. Oh my god. Come on, hands.
Oh shit! They found me! He ran away with his antler. It's cute because he's a dog. Excuse?
It's really not as cold as I think it is.
My hands just feel cold. Well, you're also wearing sandals like an idiot.
No, like a boss.
Fart. So glad I got that in the recording.
Really? Really?
Yes.
Okay. So here in Minnesota, it's trying to still be winter, even though we're all pretty much tired of it. But I also think that a lot of the fun nature things that we enjoy in the spring, summer, and fall are also really nice in their own way in winter. So I did this drawing of winter cone flowers. So that's what we'll be talking about in this video. As I've mentioned probably every time, starting is always the hardest part for me. So I'm planning out this piece first in very light pencil marks. It's always important when working on black paper, especially, to be careful where you put down your initial marks, because it doesn't really erase very well or very cleanly off the black paper. So the cone flower has those really long, center points, and the outside of the flower is where they look the most flat and line-like, and it's not until you get to the center where they start to point towards you, and then therefore will look just like little round posts basically. And so that's the first thing I'm doing, is I make sure I put the lines around the outside to get the shape of it, and then start filling it in with the different shapes. I'm also using a lot of different colors. There's parts of this that is going to be in the sunlight and part of it that is in the shadow. So for everything that's in the sunlight, I'm using warmer colors like yellows and golds and oranges, that kind of stuff. And then into the shadows, it's more blues and greens and grays and colder tones. And the trick of it is you have to use those colors throughout the entire piece. It's not just draw all the little pokey parts of the flower in one color and then go back. You have to do the warm side in one color and the cold side in another. But if you do that consistently, it makes the light really convincing, and that really makes the whole thing sing. There's also a lot of layering of colors going on here. I'll show you a close-up later on so it's easier to see, but I will put in one color and then around the outside of that line put in other colors to kind of layer it and build it up so that it is more of a dynamic shape and a dynamic color depth, and that also really makes it look more lifelike, for lack of a better. Anyway, I'm getting a lot of kitten assistance in this portion of the video, but don't worry, it gets worse. As I'm putting things into the background, I'm letting them be less saturated and also softer. So those parts of the flower that are close here, and having really kind of sharp lines and sharp edges into them. I'm also kind of trying to create an ice effect or a frost effect onto the flowers. Oh, hi, Luca. Hi. Yes, kitty. It's okay. Just give me a minute. Sorry about that. I always have at least one cat helping me at any given time. Anyway, that one was Gary. So I'm putting in some of these tones in the background and then drawing these dry leaves. Now, the thing about the dry leaves is putting them in with really sharp and distinct lines. That helps make them look crispy, like they are in that kind of drying out phase that happens in the deep winter there. You can kind of see how I'm using the cooler colors on this side of the cone flower, and that will contrast when with the warmer colors on the right sides. This part over here is I'm putting additional flowers deep into the background. Now, the way to make those recede is, like I said before, using less saturated colors. So, in analog terms, that's just a different pigmentation. So, like, this is a blue, but it's a blue gray that I'm using. And having those kind of soft and wispy pencil marks also makes them farther back. And in this shot, you're actually closer so you can see more of how the different colors are coming in together. So, like, I'm putting these yellows in, and that is starting to really make the shapes come in. Now, in a second here, I'm going to start doing that back flower, and those lines are going to be much softer, and you'll see how that makes it look farther away. The way that depth of field works is that your eye can only focus on so many things at once, and anything that it's not focusing on becomes softer. So the flowers that I'm hinting at in these backgrounds are just amorphous shapes and don't really have a whole lot of textural details at all. But the one that's in the middle ground there, even though it's farther back, still has some textural definition, but it's not as much as the flowers closer to us, and obviously also much more than those blobby flowers that I'm putting in the back. Now, this one is even farther away, and that's why it is rendered differently. This is the portion of the process that I like to call draw the rest of the owl. It is also the part of the process where I'm going to have the most kitten assistance. Um, and it's just as well because these color pencils don't smudge. Means they also don't really blend very well. I have to blend by doing layers, and that's just fine. It's just a different technique. But it also means that it's okay for this kitten to just climb all over it, chew on my fingers, and it's not really a problem. I enjoy the company and the help, frankly. Don't worry, this kitten and her siblings were adopted. Gosh, I think it's a month ago now, but yes, they're in awesome homes, so we're all set for the next ones to come in. Anyway, she's being very helpful as I'm doing these extra enhancements. So once you're at this point in the piece, you're going to want to look at it and see what needs to be punched up. And I'm seeing that I need to have a little bit more contrast in my work. So I'm making the highlights a little bit brighter and then making sure that I'm having enough texture through the piece to make it all cohesive. And that can be a delicate balance. Now, at this point, I'm doing also what I'm calling some lighting effects. When the light is reflecting off of the snow and everything, it's going to give you that sort of light sphere effect, and that has blues on the one side, yellows and oranges on the other side. And adding those in, no matter how distracting these kittens are, actually kind of helps create that dreamy effect that makes this look both realistic and kind of mystical and otherworldly. This section you can see the light effects a little bit more cleanly as I'm putting in even brighter and more saturated colors. It's really kind of a fun process, and I'm obviously also leaning on my background in photography, but I enjoy all creative projects, so that's kind of how it works for me. Is I'm always working on something, and I'm always drawing from other areas. I think it makes it a more well-rounded piece in general. We don't have favorites, but he was my favorite. You can see here some of what I was talking about with the different layers of colors and the different textural elements, and then this is that lighting effect. And here's the finished piece, and it's all outside and in natural light, and I kind of feel like it looks even better. Never really know what to do with them when they're done. So, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll just put this on a shelf. I seriously, I don't have enough hands, and I don't have the energy to maintain one. So